Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi. Sorry for the delay in the video. I was working hard to get this out here. If you could like, subscribe, share, unsubscribe, resubscribe, we're trying to regrow this channel. I fit 10 Linux distros onto one hard drive with 13 partitions. These are the partitions and the Linux distributions rated from top to bottom. Sorry, man. And so one of the things that's different about this channel than my old channel, I wanted to give you my opinion a lot, and I try to really rein that in. And I'm just trying to go based on facts and some criteria. And so number one, let's talk about CachyOS. CachyOS and Arch distributions in general, what I found loading them over and over and over again as I've blown up my bootloader and had to reload Cachy a bunch of times, reload Arch, wiped everything, wiped the whole disk out, reloaded Arch first, then Cachy, blew out Garuda. I just recently overwrote Manjaro. What I find with Arch-based distros, they're just bulletproof. Now, Arch is number 2 in my thing because I guess it's kind of the grandfather, grandmother. It's the root of kind of all this stuff. It was good. It was simple. Like when I installed it was a bear, so I had to reinstall stuff. When I installed Steam, maybe I had to put more components in and those kind of things. But it was a smaller install, right? But on all these distros, I'm putting Steam on, and I'm putting OBS on to record stuff, and I'm putting NVIDIA drivers on there. Okay, this is Endeavor. And how can you tell it's Endeavor? Their little logo's up in the top there. You can kind of see it. And I've made a separate wallpaper for all these because I'm insane. But Endeavor was probably the third best. Not probably, is third best because not like Cachy, a little less than Cachy, a little more than Arch. And then Garuda. So this is my big, I made a mistake earlier. I got rid of Garuda and then I reinstalled it. And then I changed it back to basic KDE. What Garuda gives you is the possibility. It has a lot of tools. So it has a lot of things that are automated. All these kind of do, but it's really great if you want more help and you want to do some other things. If you want to tinker a lot, I think it's for you. And that first skin is crazy. Manjaro is 5th. Here's why Manjaro is 5th. I've used Manjaro before, but then the thing on Manjaro is they say, well, you could get, it doesn't do rolling releases. It waits 2 weeks, then it releases. So sometimes you can imagine that there's going to be, I haven't run into it, but what I've done then is I'm scared of it. So I'm turning on my monitor so I can still have light. So I'm a little bit nervous about it, but it ran. Solus Linux. So that was one of my first installations I installed. It's a rolling release. It's not from one of the major players. Has KDE, has a genome, I think, as well. And I've run it before with the Steam and everything. It ran the games. I have a little bit lower because I haven't benchmarked it yet. So I have to benchmark it here. And so that's what's happening with these last 5, because the Arches have always been on there. Then Fedora. Here's a caveat about Fedora. When I write it on the USB stick, only part B of the partition shows up to the B stick. That's kind of like a bootloader for Fedora. I was trying to install Ultramarine again, but it just would never take because I don't know, maybe my ISO was bad. I got Fedora to work. I wanted to have at least a Fedora representation. I then put NVIDIA on it, so I still got to do benchmarks on Fedora. Then we're going to move to Tumbleweed. I've installed Tumbleweed many times. Rolling release from OpenSUSE. I just put NVIDIA on it. I got to test this as well, right? So this is one of the things why it's slower. We'll see what it does. When I've looked at the kernels, a lot of these are on 7.1. I'll give you some statistics at a different point. This is all to set up my test bench on my laptop, my Zephyrus G14. And I do most of this stuff on and off it. So this is PikaOS, P-I-K-A-O-S. It seems like it's from Great Britain. It's Debian-based. It's gaming distro, rolling release. I've kind of liked it so far. It installed Refine by default. Really looking forward to testing this. I wanted to have some type of Debian in there that had Linux drivers, and it was kind of a rolling release. And last but not least, maybe on the other channel, is Linux Mint. Nothing wrong with Mint. It's just that it's frozen in time. When it gets re-snapshotted, it might be a recommendation for the first 6 months. But even Fedora's on a 6-month, release. So, and it was about 20% slower than CachyOS running. And not that Cyberpunk 2077 is the end-all be-all for benchmarks, but that's what I'm using. So, what's the purpose? What am I doing here? I'm not testing hardware. Hardware is not the variable, so we've reduced that now. The software is the variable. I wanted to see what's the difference between distributions. The Arch distributions were close. Cachy was 10%, maybe faster than those. If you run those benchmarks on Cyberpunk benchmark, they are exactly the same because the benchmark is testing a very specific thing in doing it. Not when you're moving the car in Cyberpunk, when you're driving in the section that I'm using for my benchmarking. What I want to see is that. Number two, how easy was it to install? The Arch-based distros, minus Arch, right? The other four wannabe Arch distros, they install like bulletproof next to anything. They use a installer called Calamari's, and it works great. Maybe it's Calamari. I don't know what it is, but you'll see it when you do it. Some other ones have that thing where you can manually partition. I didn't know how to manually partition when I started doing this. I didn't understand it. I have 13 partitions now. I have 2 boot sections, and I have a data section where I run so I understand it now. And part of all this was I have to make all of these point and auto-mount my data directory with my games. So I'm going to show a video on that soon. Okay. So that was number one. Number two, I'm not doing these on virtual machines because a virtual machine isn't going to give you the problem of putting multiple insertions into your boot record, making different partitions. I shrank a lot of these partitions. I started out with each partition for the first 140. I've cut all those down to 70. And then some when I had to make this boot. So there's a couple of POS distributions. Number one, this PicaOS, which is really nice, but it made its own boot partition to put some of its stuff in. And in the past, when I've been with Fedora, it'll say, what's your primary partition, what's your boot EF partition, and what's your boot partition. I didn't have that. I would just say, I don't have one. Then it would try to stuff that into the boot EFI, and I had some problems with every single Fedora distribution. So I fixed that. I have like a 10 gigabyte extra little partition for that kind of stuff. They don't take that much size, but that's what it is. So that's the start of all this, right? I'll give you benchmarks and give you an idea, and I'm going to use the OSs. But what you're going to find is most operating systems, Linux ones, are the same. You're doing the same stuff. I'm doing the exact same thing on each distribution. Guess what, YouTube? Besides gaming, it's going to be roughly the same. So this is Ronan Kazi. I finally finished 10 partitions of 10 Linux distributions. Bye, YouTube.